Hey guys, this is Coach Carr with the Basketball Embassy again. We're excited for another session. I'm here with Daniel Sikowski from AC Maccabi in Israel. We're really excited to talk with Coach, and I'm really excited to listen. So remember, guys, there's a question sharing app in the bottom. If you have any, just click it, type it in, and we'll get to as many questions as possible at the end. Coach, thank you so much for coming. I'll go ahead and give it up to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate it. Just speaking ahead of time that I tried to shift the attention away from myself and immediately onto the screen because I have terrible lighting in my apartment. It is nighttime over here in Israel, where I'm currently based. As Dustin alluded to, I'm an assistant coach for Maccabi Rishon LeZion in the Israeli Winter League, one of the few leagues, or maybe the only league so far that is coming back to finish the season amidst these interesting times. But today I'm going to be speaking on the Spanish league, the ACB league, Liga Endesa, the many names it goes by. And I spent the last 2 months kind of just digging through. I had a fascination with the league. It's kind of widely known that it is the premier domestic championship tournament in Europe. And you see some of the teams in your league playing them in international competition. We played Andorra in our Euro Cup this year. And you just, kind of taken back as a coach by the quality of tactics, execution, and level of intensity. And one of our players this year, Daryl Monroe, had played in Spain, and always harping back to why aren't we doing things the way they did them. So I just kind of took these last 2 months and kind of dug through the league team by team and this talk was a great opportunity, a motivator for me to kind of glue some themes together. So I want to talk as little as possible because if anybody tuned into my previous coach's clinic on the best stuff in the EuroLeague and the Euro Cup, I didn't get through all of it. I needed to, and I still didn't do all of it because, I can ramble a little bit. So let's jump right into it. I just kind of wanted to start by sharing contact information. Anybody who tuned in last time knows I may have made a bit of a mistake with the phone number last time. Please feel free to reach out to me on WhatsApp, on Twitter. On Twitter, I try to do a good job of sharing what I learned. As I went through the Spanish League, I was sharing a EuroLeague, Euro Cup. That's how Coach Perkins and I connected, just sharing what I learned on Twitter. Email, any of these avenues, please feel free to reach out. Please connect. I'm a little bit behind on uploading the materials I'm going to share. But they will be accessible eventually. I know that's the common question, as it should be. How do we get our hands on these materials and spend more time with them? But it's going to be more thematic and less, if we look at kind of what I shared from the EuroLeague and the Euro Cup, it was kind of an extensive playbook. There is that element to this in terms of concepts, but it's really trying to be holistic and draw some general points about the league. So this is the title of the presentation. There isn't a great deal to the slides. It's just kind of a lead in, a few talking points, and then getting to the video and talking through the video. So looking at the Spanish ACB league from holistically and trying to understand what makes it special, what makes it different. Sorry. I was taken aback, by preparing to scout Andorra. You look at the minutes played by their team and just this incredible depth. And I thought, is that unique to Andorra? Is that unique to the league? And it turns out that it is. And just in terms of assessing the intensity, the competitiveness, the depth of the Spanish league, which has 18 teams, if I'm not mistaken, you can see I just kind of took 6 of the top leagues in European basketball right now: the Spanish league, the Israeli league, the German league, VTB United League is the Russian league, with a few teams outside of Russia, Italy, and France. And just looking down into the bottom of the last place team in each league, what is their average point differential? And these are all obviously negatives. These are the losing teams, but you can see that, down where Estudiantes and Fuenlabrada at the bottom of the table, their average margin of lost victory is 7 points. And that's a 2-3 possession game, a 3 possession game. which and going through the league and scouting, that was one of the main takeaways, that you have teams at the bottom going toe to toe late into the game, stealing games on the road, at home, against Real Madrid, Barcelona, Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Andorra, the laundry list of the powerhouses of Europe. And it was interesting to me, and I said, how do they do it? What is the minute spread? And you go to the minutes played in the ACB league, and you see exactly what I found here, that Toko Shingali is the only player who plays more than 30 minutes in the entire league, and at 29 comes in Askia Booker. Famously, the Spanish league is, 10, 11, 12 players that are functional, that are able to get out on the floor and contribute. And that depth allows them to maintain the intensity that you're going to see on the defensive end of the floor. As a reference point, the rest of these leagues, you see that kind of reliance, maybe on each team, even two players on each team, the reliance of heavy reliance on 2, 3, maybe 4 players to play a wealth of minutes at their position, which the ACB league doesn't have. You talk about budgets, you talk about roster structure, the local players. ACB league has no limit on the import players, which may be a factor, but the Spanish player is a highly regarded and highly sought after import player in many leagues. So there's that caveat. But it was just having a global picture of the European basketball landscape. It was interesting to me to understand what makes it the best. And exactly that, defining the pillars of the league, what makes it so good just as a whole. It's the intensity on both sides of the ball, which, will be evident in the video. The talent, the intensity, like, it's hard to get away from that word, the intensity, the aggression, the activity with the hands, and communication and size and athleticism of that league. To be able to play effectively on the offensive end against that, you have to be some of the smartest and most skilled players in the world. And, we have the laundry list of talent in the Spanish league. But then kind of what brings it all together for me is the creativity, the innovation, the coaching, especially on the defensive end. That might surprise some people when you say, offense is really where you get to get creative. But I think you'll see some of these extremely innovative defensive concepts that are allowing the smaller budget, quote unquote, teams of the ACB league to muck the game up, to make it messy, and to stay toe to toe with these teams. And talking about maybe epitomizing being adaptive and different and unconventional. Cito Alonso with Murcia, they have two non-shooting guards in Sadio Rojas, and you'll see how they fit all these pieces together to make it work. They have shooter, a dynamic guard in Askia Booker. Just the creativity as a whole across the board, some of the best coaching I've seen in Europe, if not worldwide. I feel like I'm drawing on. We need to get to the video, and these are the main talking points through the video, and I've kind of distributed the defensive video into these segments. That what makes a great defense is that it's continuous. I took that term from Tony Bennett, University of Virginia, national champion head coach. When I was at his camp, he talked about that is the first tenet of their, world-class maybe defense for their age group, so to speak. In college, they're number one defense year after year after year. And it's if I'm no longer in position to guard my man, I better find somebody else to go guard and know that somebody will absorb the breakdown of my man. And you see multiple examples of that. Intelligence, communicate on the fly and be reactive, the creativity. I had the good fortune of listening to Moncho Fernandez's clinic on Thomas Royker's internet European basketball webinar. And he said, don't show the offense the same answer to the same question every time. He talked about keeping the defense uneven and being creative and mixing defenses, changing defenses. And then most importantly, being aggressive and trying to dictate the action. Kind of synonymous with Spanish basketball right now is the next defense, the aggressive stunt or attack from the strong side that provokes a decision from the offense rather than waiting for them to dictate what the defense is going to do. So that's supposed to be the end of the slide. So let's move out of the presentation and move into the video. That was only 10 minutes. That's not so bad. So epitomizing what makes the defense so special to me, and makes me enamored with Spanish basketball, is the level of aggression, of energy, of continuity, of the next play. If as a defensive player, if I'm no longer in position to affect the ball, I need to go find somebody else to guard. So just try to find 4 or 5 examples of each of these concepts. Here is Burgos, San Pablo Burgos on the defensive end, and it starts with every little detail is relevant. And when I talk about intensity, I think this is the weakest on-ball pressure up the floor, I've seen in 2 months. You'll never see a defensive player waiting here unless it's a zone. And even so, sometimes they're up here turning the ball handle and then dropping back into the top of the zone. So intensity is 40 minutes of working the ball handler, making no easy catches, no easy reversals, top lock every pin down. And here, it starts immediately here, that there is no easy elbow catch, especially for a guy who's a world-class shooter in Jarrell Eddy here from Murcia. So they force the opposite elbow catch. And this is also, jumping around between topics. This is something that Murcia did in anticipation of Eddy denials. Try to have him fake like he's trying to get an elbow catch, quick reversal to the opposite elbow, and he's trying to face cut, but previously it was a backdoor. Just kind of getting the whole picture together. Then they do this nice job of exit screen stagger, and this is the first domino to fall in terms of continuity, in terms of intelligence, in terms of communication. He sees that he's late. He's communicating to number 23 to switch out and take it. That takes away a quick shot. But Eddy gets on the catch and go. And here's where it gets really beautiful. We talk about continuity, aggression. I'm going to absorb this drive. This guy, I am no longer in position to affect the ball. I'm beat. I need to find somebody else to go and guard. Putting it all together, Vitor Benite, or Ferran Bassa, it's hard to tell, absorbs one drive. He does not immediately go and hug probably the best shooter in the league. You say that's a plus or a minus. No, but it's hard to say. But in this breakdown and this scramble, where we're just going to keep funneling the defense into crowds, we absorb one drive. Go and take it. Force him off the line. No uncontested, no easy catch and shoot threes. He rips back and attacks this closeout. He absorbs another drive. Wall up. Rotate over, get vertical, and we have offensive 3 seconds. I'm sorry. So in terms of just high-level, multiple effort continuity as a defense, continuousness, that was a tremendous example for me. We move over to Barcelona, who's got Hanga working the ball up the floor, chasing it. Even when he gets completely behind the ball, the Spanish league, and it's unfortunately just, I figured we wouldn't have enough time because we could talk about the player instincts and talking about basketball maybe being one of the overcoached and under-taught games, whether that be college, high school, professional, in different leagues. I feel like the Spanish offense is the best taught and least coached basketball in Europe, in that when there is an offensive mistake, forget the play, capitalize and attack immediately. If it's cheating. So there's a whole folder, maybe that's a part 2 in the clinic, a whole folder of cheat reads. There is a play, there's an intention of how we want to organize the offense, and then there's the reaction to what the defense does, whatever mistake it was. So Hanga gets behind the ball more often than not. This point guard is going to weasel his way into the defense and try to find a way to maintain the 5-on-4, but they're not set. The offense is out of position, shooters. So he pulls out, and now Hanga is working the ball. We have the quick show on an early pick and roll. That's the way I'm going to stay attached to a dynamic roller, try to provoke a drive into a crowd. And something we're going to touch on offensively, one of the most common entries and one of the most effective entries to any set, the step up and screen away. Because more often than not, this is exactly what happens. we have a 2-on-1 situation immediately if Kuric doesn't blow up this pin down. So the offense is trying to manipulate the fact that on this step up, good defensive principles say that this guy needs to be off weak side, needs to be off maybe 1 foot in the paint, 1 foot out. But now pin down is coming and he has to choose whether to gap this, chase it, and be late. But scouting sits off of a non-shooting big, sits Tomic back at the rim and allows Kuric to blow this first pin down up. So we talk about attention to detail, awareness, effort. We've pressured the ball. We've negated the first pick and roll. And now we're top locking, blowing up the first pin down. Now, Andorra is going to wind up into the double exit that they ran all season, that this first cutter, and I highlighted this, I think, in one of the talks, this first cutter, when he doesn't get the shot, he's going to loop around off of the 4, and 5 is going to set a fake ball screen and pin down. And we just talk about, watch the continuity, the effort level of Barcelona. And it starts here. That we talk about a commitment to affecting passing lanes. And the question, can the ball see my man? Well, my man isn't rolling out. He is holding this screen. So that allows me to step out and extend that pass. And we see Senglin hesitate because of Tomic's arm. He said, oh, he's not sure if he's open. And that one moment of hesitation allows this man to reset the defensive position. Now we get into late clock, last ball screen, not a team that ideally wants to switch because Tomic is immobile out on the perimeter. So you get this horizontal hedge, and just watch the effort level. And this talk about defensive continuity, that everybody is zoned up and forget the ball, forget my man, where's the ball, who can score and what can score. So we have this full deep rotation from the 4. And this is the beauty of it, is that we don't need to be in a complete rotation and send Tomic out to the weak side and give ourselves a disadvantage on the rebound. Tomic says, I'm back. There's hesitation on the skip. And now we're in one-on-one with a highly, highly contested shot. So we just talk about energy and effort level, continuity. These defenses across the league just are exemplifying the continuousness that we talk about. Here's Andorra again on offense, coincidentally, running another early step up, but now there's swing, reversal. And now we can work our way back and talk about continuous effort level. So as promised, this ball is being worked up the floor. Hannah has to be in a defensive dribble to try to initiate the set. He's under pressure. They're at 14 at the start of their offense. So we're clearly gapping any handoffs with one of the lesser shooters on their team. Scouting would dictate whether we should blow up that handoff or gap it. And now we see offensive and defensive skills at the same time. You're being subjected to this level of defense every game. You're going to improve as an offensive player. I witnessed that firsthand when, we scout Massanet at the beginning of the season, because again, Andorra was in our Euro Cup group, and, he has one skill set, and by the second meeting, he's a different player in ball screen because he's playing against these defenses. Tenerife is open in a deep stunt, not a full next where they're trying to take this because he passes it off early. And now Hannah does a great job of attacking the high foot, ripping back to the middle and closing out. And it's this player and the subsequent rotation. We say, okay, I just fell down and got beat. It could be pass. It could be pass, uncontested shot. How as a defense are you committed to delaying the easy, uncontested look and provoking one more decision, one more dribble, one more pass? It's provoking decisions and being continuous. That is the commitment principle of, I think, every defense in the league. So number 1 falls down, recovers. This closeout takes away the reversal for one dribble. And that's enough time for him to get out and run at the player. And you say, hey, the shot is an uncontested three. But there's also the mental space of the time on the clock. There's the scramble. There's a lack of rhythm in his catch and shoot opportunity. And all of that originated from the most conventional and desired situation in offensive basketball. We could argue as coaches, single tag, middle pick and roll. We got a deep drop. This is a walk in the park for this ball handler to get through the nail, or the big has to step up. We have a roll, we have a tag, and we have a shake and an easy throwback for an uncontested three. And we think about the layers of decision we've provoked. 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, 3 more passes, and 10 seconds off the shot clock that negated your basic flat. We see this, all of us European coaches, we have our frustrations with the NBA that we see a deep drop, and the ease with which the high level talented guards can handle that situation, can negate that defensive coverage. Well, here's a different solution. So these are all just examples of the level of continuousness that exemplifies Spanish defense. I'm just going to let it play through. Everybody marvel. And some of these end with a basket. But my question to you as you watch this is, how hard does this team have to work to get that basket? And what is the quality of that shot? Contested corner 3 at the end of the shot clock. What are the percentages? And what situation did it originate from that the defense scrambled to negate? And what was the percentage of what could have been the percentage of that original shot? So we had, Murcia is an extremely aggressive defensive team. So you got this player, you think a la, if anybody's watched the German BBL, John Patrick, sometimes you're stunting and you're running jumps, sometimes you're fake. And that allows him to be aggressive because he's not sure if he can take off to the middle, accelerate and then pull back and create some breathing room. So again, I think it's a little difficult to see shot clock right now, but we're probably down in 16, 15, 14 area to start the possession. So we get a mistake, a defensive mistake, a trip, a slip on a pick and pop situation. So this is Burgos with Earl Clark, who's a mobile shooting big, playing at the 5 right now. So they go into a pick and pop where they overload the opposite big into the strong side dunker. And now you have corner filled, no 45, so no stunt, and a difficult proposition for any defense, right, that isn't going to switch. You have a step up, pick and pop, and him cutting to the strong side dunker. And it's just the awareness and continuousness that I just chased this guy over an Iverson. And I'm aware that I have a new responsibility, and he stunts into the passing lane to delay the easy reversal. It's that moment where if he is closing out face on, this is an easy, immediate one more chest pass, but the time it takes for him to lift the ball and change the trajectory of the pass allows this guy to embrace continuousness and say, oh shit, well, I know I got to go guard somebody else, get to the corner. Number 5, who just played hero on the really aggressive stunt, or you can call it a rotation on the pick and pop, gets back into the gap, provokes another driving kick, and we have it again. We have it again and again. One more drive, one more kick. And we get a hand up here, and we say we can live with that shot. But in these situations, and we'll have a few examples of kind of when we're trying to epitomize aggressive defense, we get into one of these breakdowns, and he stunts back off of a corner drive, peel off of this guy's back, and I use that word appropriately because Coach Will Voigt, Angolan national team head coach, gave multiple clinics on his peel switch concept, where you're almost baiting a low by to kind of generate some speed, and then you're jumping off of the nearest player and you're peeling off to the corner. And we have multiple examples of what Coach Voigt calls corner peel in the Spanish league. So you say, oh man, you end up with a contested three. Well, you could have had an uncontested, relatively contested, but multiple effort. How hard the team had to work to get that three versus where did it originate? It originated with an oh shit situation. Pardon my language. Uh, with Earl Clark on a pick and pop, standing at the top of the key completely by himself, if not for that first initial aggressive domino that fell out of the corner and initiated that sequence. And now that offense is to work really hard to get that shot. And these are principles and situations you see all over the league repeatedly. These are just a few that epitomized what I found in terms of defensive habits. One of the most aggressive pick and roll defensive teams that tries to avoid nexting, so to speak, some of these examples of perimeter stunts and switches that we saw is Valencia, who chooses to hedge almost everything. So you see them out and aggressive. But then we get into these same habits. You see goalkeeper, as we've heard it called, trying to delay direct passes to the strong side corner. So it's not a chest pass. The time it takes for Scrub to lift the ball over his head changes the trajectory and allows maybe a fraction of a second more for this closeout. But it's this beauty, this continuity. Like, I am supporting my teammate. Big is on the way back to his man. We have a deep stunt, deep rotation from the weak side. And now on this blow by, I'm going to absorb this drive. And he's going to go find somebody else to guard if necessary. But that situation at the end of the shot clock where I take a blow by that probably ends, if not for this rotation, in a layup or clear vision for this kick out, an uncontested layup or three into, I'm going to make one more effort. I'm going to try to wall off this drive, and it ends in a heavily contested layup. Well, that's probably supposed to say aggressive, as we want to be continuous, aggressive, intelligent, and innovative as a defense. Those were kind of the global totems of Spanish defense that I observed. So having had the privilege, again, of listening to Coach Fernandez speak on his many defensive principles, we talk about, I think it's titled very fittingly Hot. They call it Hot because they say you have a hot shooter, a hot player coming off of all these shooting situations, and they're the genesis of it, as he explained it, was J.C. Carroll is coming off of a floppy, coming off a pin down. Rudy Fernandez coming off of a pin down. Jarrell Eddy is coming off of a pin down. You got these guys, they can get 10 toes down. Kyle Courage, it's basically like a free throw. It's a layup for them. So how can we take that away without switching and creating heavy mismatches, making it difficult for the offense player to play against, and without extending our big out into a hedge where these are easy slip reads for the passer to throw lobs or inside passes to the big when the screener's man extends out to delay this pass or to affect this catch. So we get into Valencia runs their baseline out of bounds diamond, where he comes in and can exit in either direction, and this guy's reading opposite him. He comes out this way, he goes there. He comes out this way, he stays. And he's behind. This is enough time for him to catch and shoot. So we go into hot, and that becomes a full attack of the shooter, of course, in the passing lane. And he knows he has to go find somebody else to guard. And this guy is playing too. He is deciding whether he has to take this player or stunt and recover based on the positioning of this player and the aggression of the next pass. So truly amazing read here by this player to see that this is going to be a quick reversal and just take it and then watch him absorb that rip back to stop the dominoes falling. Boom, contain that drive, and now we've negated what was clearly an advantage. You know, there are million. We have, as coaches, we think every day of new ways to generate offensive advantage, to create some situation, whether it's coming off, whether it's a ball screen, whether it's a cross screen, whether it's a flex screen, screening and contact is going to initiate some decision from the defense. So again, this initial hot decision to take away this shot and now read between these two, it provoked a decision, provoked some hesitation in the offense that wears on an offensive player. It takes away his shooting rhythm. And now every time he comes off, he's waiting for half a second to see, are they stunting at me? Are they not? You know, you go back to the quote I shared from him, don't show the offense the same defensive answer to the same question every time. And that takes players and takes offenses out of their rhythm. So we've negated what was a catch and shoot three. Now you have an aggressive post defense at the end of the shot clock, less than ideal to be posting the ball, but they're at 5 with no advantage. They can choose to go perimeter ISO, but there isn't great spacing, or they can go post ISO to their best player. But this is part of the intelligence. I whether I see the shot clock or I can just feel the duration of the possession, ball goes in the post, end of the shot clock, I can be extremely aggressive. And now that's the shot we end up with. And now we just need to secure the defensive rebound. More examples of aggressive defense. I'm initiating the decision-making of the offense. I am forcing their hand. And we have a similar hot situation. Hannah, and this is the beauty of it, that for Rudy probably could have gotten through this gap, jump stop, and dropped it off to Majiri, or here kick out to the corner to Tompkins. But we provoke with the attack, and you see the hands, the commitment to the passing lane. It's the commitment to the passing lane. He's not even swiping for the ball or trying to square him up. He's just trying to delay that pass. And now it's all these pieces together. Corner says no reversal. Communicates no reversal. And if you look at the floor, this is something I've talked a lot about with some coaches. If you're going to commit to negating or delaying passes, make it a full commitment, it's his angle. His angle is critical, that it's not here where he's on his side, but a low bounce pass could probably still get through. But he is completely on his body. He steps on the sideline and forces the ball back where? Into a crowd, a paint filled with 6 players where there's nowhere to go. And it's that moment of hesitation that we will wait one more beat and we can see what happened. And look at Rudy's frustration, because we go back to the beginning of the possession and Rudy's coming off with advantage. I've got it, advantage. And then we say this aggressive defense negates it or forces one more thought, one more second. And now Laprovitola, world-class point guard, is struck by hesitation. And now we see the shot that they end with. And again, I ask, you say, well, you go back to Burgos getting a somewhat contested, maybe uncontested, and a made corner 3 off of the same principle. So you say, wearing on the offensive mind, on the offensive decision-making, possession after possession after possession, if you can get a mix of these and a few of those, you're going to live with those odds. And this is the defensive commitment that all these teams have made on both ends of the floor. We come back to Coach Fernandez's team, Obradoiro, one of the most aggressive defenses. With, we say he's the originator of the next of the hot. So this is huge emergency. This is completely beat. Yeah, this is Bilbao running their double drag, shooting 4-man rolls to the basket, and then 5-man rolls into a pin down for him. And this is a 5 that's parked in the paint, has no positioning or interest in switching out. So you're going to get 10 toes to the line, uncontested 3 for a 38% 3-point shooter. So we say we can give up the shot, or we can try to force one more pass, one more decision. And we see how that principle has negated a lot of advantages. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's this commitment to, he's late in recognizing that he needs to find somebody else to guard. And we see this intelligent cut when Bilbao cuts the corner, once they see this rotation start, so they take away this his ability to stunt at Schreiner on the catch and shoot. And now you've got, and here's the argument, here's the philosophical question about whether you want to do this or not. But you had 10 toes down and maybe a flyby here, force one more pass, and the same flyby three. So it's just a commitment to aggressive defense. And we see these principles have seeped in to every team's philosophy. Real Betis probably one of the top most aggressive defensive teams in the league. Tremendous defensively, and that's what kept them in the game. And you say that, they have 8 wins, but you look at their point differential in a lot of these games, Real Betis right there at the top as in terms of aggressive and active and competitive defenses. So again, it comes the origin of stunting aggressively or hot, completely attacking shooters. This defender who's guarding Carroll, he's going to be run through pin downs and flares and floppies all night. And we send the big at it. It's a throw to the rim and it's an easy dunk. So his job is to stay attached, and we want to try to figure this out between the quicker, more mobile, more agile guards. So we have this huge aggressive stunt from the passer, Sipahi with the stunt into the lane, closing this gap, and now we're on the move. And this guy plays too. Talking about aggression and the ability, the positioning to stunt and be in position to contest the next shot. And if we go possession by possession, I think every coach on this clinic, or every coach we talk to and ask would say, yeah, this is a contested shot. So again, the origins, the genesis, this is the first possession of the game. Do we really want to start with a Carroll? If he's not here, if he stays home, curl through the elbow, through the nail, and at which point Jerome has to decide whether to stop the ball, give up a floater, or give up a lob to Tavares, or we force 1, 2 more passes, and end with a contested 3. And now we just have to secure the defensive possession, and we've negated the advantage. Tenerife, another big proponent of the next defense, where they are varying between, and Mancha also made this distinction. Sometimes this guard is going to jump directly into the line of pass and be extremely aggressive. Sometimes he is going to wait for this guard to turn the corner and then kind of absorb and sponge that drive, and this guy will peel off and take the 45. We have this situation where, again, this player has to be extremely intelligent, communicative, and active to decide to try to dictate what this player is going to do. And I think we can make the argument that this ball handler defender getting stuck in this screen, and Coach Fernandez talks about his team's technique, fighting over the screen and then figuring out what to do next. But if you get stuck in the screen, now he tries to roll off, but he's wading through a sea of bodies trying to get to his next rotation. This pass needed to be delayed a half more second, 1/2 second, where he needed to, if we remember Andorra, this foot stepping onto the sideline and provoking a drive back into a paint that, again, has 6 players in this situation. But the quick reversal forces a longer rotation. We talk about continuity, being continuous as a defense. I broke down, I got beat. I think we've all coached enough players that we know in this situation, they say, oh, man, and they just kind of watch the ball travel from end to end, and they never make it quite there. In the Spanish league, that is a complete rarity. Every player is trying to figure out what they can do next to influence the defensive possession. And again, we say that this is a contested shot. Whether he caught it in rhythm, so on and so forth, at the end of the day, if we're evaluating shot contests, that one gets a tally. That one gets a check. So what the result was versus the genesis of the possession. We again have this situation, contact on the screen, drop in the middle, pick and roll, single tag. Who's going to stop this guy if he has to stop the ball? Now we have tag, we have lift, And we have the easiest, most common reads that point guards have been trained time and time again. Hook pass to the shake, pick and roll. We have to force a different decision, force a more difficult decision, a less desirable one, something different. And then we have to live with the results. So I know I'm doing a lot of narrating, a lot of talking, but trying to summarize as we go, teams throughout the league, almost top to bottom, the style of defense, the commitment, these are universal truths to the ACB defense. Affect the passing lane and delay passes. Be continuous and high intensity. The last two, and we want to dictate what the offense is doing, not be passive. And that's why the last section should have been called, I'm supposed to be called aggressive. I guess I pressed delete just as I thought I was pressing enter. So we have continuous, we have aggressive, and now we have the defensive intelligence, the anticipation, communication, all these layers that enable a defense to play in this way, to negate advantages in this way. So we have a quick coming off and Benita in a curl. No advantage, rescreen. On the rescreen, we have the intelligence to know what point we're in the shot clock. And talk about these random instincts, decisions, communications that negate small advantages in short clock situations. Whatever Benita chose to do, I want you to watch weak side 4-man. He takes the roller, and that immediately tells Anderson to get out to the corner and go find a box out, which he fails to do. But we negate we reduce what would have been a significant mismatch on the offensive rebound just with something as simple as late clock switch. If I can kick you out, I will kick you out. And these are things that, if we're watching these clinics for ways to improve our team, to improve our defensive communication, to reduce mismatches, minimize disadvantage, when we've done a great job of defending the entire possession. And then at the end of the clock, in short clock situations, everyone says under 10, under 8, let's switch it. But we're going to concede an offensive rebound. Whenever we can, we should do exactly this. Kick him out to the weak side, but he needs to not watch the ball. He needs to turn and find a body first. But this is one example of intelligence across the league. And here we get into here's some positive and negative intelligence or anticipation or reaction or read. So here's an example of the corner peel that I was talking about. We get back to the beginning of the possession. And once the ball crosses half court, as promised, the intensity doesn't matter if it's one possession game, it's the end of the clock. Maybe they say, oh no, let's be conservative, let's protect the lead. They're up 2. This is Funabato on defense and Unikaha on offense. They're up. They're aggressive. Here's some poor communication that could have allowed a slip in guard-to-guard situations. But they switch it. We wall off the drive. And now we get into a reject situation. They talk about this is a piece of a team defense that I wholeheartedly believe is something I want to do. I encourage our team to do. You build in emergency fail safes. They say, no matter what, every offensive coach is telling him, hey, every pick and roll, every ball screen guard, you must try to reject. Defensively, every coach is saying, no matter what, you do not allow yourself to get rejected. But you can't say, you allow these blanket statements, something that Coach Fernandez said, but they need to know the what if, what next. Break in case of emergency, break glass. What does your team do? And I think the corner peel switch is the perfect solution. I say, uh-oh, I'm beat. I'm on his back. Corner. That window of time where this guy's completely open is so incredibly small. If he is anticipating, waiting, he's above his man. Coach Liam Flynn talks about defensive positioning. It's ubiquitous. It's omnipresent in Spanish basketball, playing up above the man in the passing lane. So he absorbs this drive. And, ironically enough, we have a perfect example of why this solution is preferable to your more common, reject, weak side, take it. and now you have a 2-on-1 because Ayenga doesn't get the memo that they're gonna peel switch this and negate that drive, and now you have pass and heavily contested but completely rhythm 3 that loses them the game. So this solution would have saved them. So you talk about positive intelligence and maybe an absence thereof, that this is an overreaction from his part. And if they just sponged this drive between these two and he was able to stay home, they go home with a win, which, if you know the Spanish league, probably marked upset. Unicaja losing on the road to Fuenlabrada, but that's the price to pay. But more importantly is the concept that in case of emergency, and I said specifically in this situation, you want to be aggressive and up in the body because the wing spread pick and roll is probably one of the hardest things to guard. Ball handler coming off into a ton of space, single tag. What are you going to do here? And we've seen teams next, we've seen teams hedge, we've seen teams quick show. But when you get rejected, what do? This breakdown is too obvious. He steps up and now it's pass or pass. It's too easy. So this quick solution with a small window of time, the moment Beas steps into the lane, boom, let's say he picked it up and passed it, he's flying right off his back, and maybe you get a corner flyby, but a more difficult situation, tighter situation, less rhythm. So an important wrinkle. We have another example here, back to back from Estudiantes. You say these concepts, these ideas are omnipresent. They're everywhere. The idea of continuity, aggression, force one more decision, activity and hands in the passing lane. It's incredible to watch the league, 2 months in, and every team is applying the same principles. So we get into a heavy ball pressure, breakdown. All weak side, help side is occupied. Someone's got to stop this drive. And ironically enough, this solution would have probably been worse. If big guy conventionally comes over, he's on his back, he can't affect this drop off and this layup. We see it time and time again. Force a guard to make a different decision. And if we watch Scrub here in the corner, when does he go? So he sees his beat. You see him chop his feet, stunt, and then completely take it. And that gave Pressy time to run through the passing lane and watch him pick this off. What should have been a layup becomes a turnover and fast break basket the other way. So we talk about building in the corner peel. Keep using Coach Voigt's term. The intelligence and anticipatory skills to do so, the commitment to continuity and forcing one more decision, one more pass, they all kind of feed off of each other. And that's just the expectation to compete in the ACB. And that's what drives all these teams to keep absorbing these concepts. If I alluded to your kind of the next concept, we have basically the same situation as if he was coming off of a single attack pick and roll, one on the weak side, penetration towards the nail, and 2 on the strong side. And I talked about the concept of being extremely aggressive, like using the guard to basically hedge the pick and roll. And now he's playing 2 until the ball handler's defender either gets to the 45 or has to take the corner if necessary. But we also have this absorbing this drive. And it's a great solution for teams that like to snake in the drop, where you have, he says, he recognizes this, but the window for this pass, which would be behind him with is incredibly small. And this is the communication and the reaction, the intelligence to say, well, wait a second, boom, the spacing isn't good. I can absorb this drive. And then now Allison is with him, extremely aggressive to deny pass back. Zaragoza was, I believe, the top scoring defense, or second to Madrid in the league. That's the team red on defense. A tremendous study defensively. And you talk about the layers of intelligence, the layers of activity. We've gotten into late clock pick and roll. So this breakdown happens at 12. Negate it. 7, let's play another pick and roll, or allow him to go ISO. And now we say there's just simply not enough time for another pass and another shot. And if there were, we'd have him here stunt or run at this player. It's the awareness that at the end of the clock, I just need to make one more effort to not concede an uncontested shot. So he gets stuck here on this under, and you have both of these guys run at this, and that's an air ball. So it's just the intelligence, aggression, continuity that dictates the success of these defenses. Here we have Baskonia on defense, EuroLeague team. So, and it's the intelligence to negate mistakes, emergency solutions. We saw it off of the corner, and we see it here in this situation. Guard to guard, bad switch, pick and pop. This guy needs no time to get this off. So if this stunt or this rotation doesn't happen, then this is a catch, shoot three. And if he doesn't close out like so, completely body on the side, this is obviously a quick extra and a very long closeout for an uncontested three. What it does do is force the ball back into the middle, forces a 40% three-point shooter off of the three-point line, and concedes what we talk about as shots, in the analytics era that we're willing to give up. Contested pull-ups, on the move floaters, and what was an uncontested or a rhythm catch and shoot three or a quick extra for a catch and shoot three in the corner becomes a contested off balance floater that in a missed field goal. And I think this clip is the epitome of intelligence, because Zaragoza has next principles in some of these single tag pick and roll situations, but right now the rule is also switch. So imagine the intelligence of the five-man. So you highlight, whether this is well taught or this is individual player intelligence. This is a switch. So now this big man is in the next rotation responsibilities. The same way that this guard, DJ Sealy, would be in our conventional, all the situations we talked about, big is drop back. This guy is usually here, and he is jumping at the ball hand, the defender is either going to the 45 or to the corner. But now that becomes this five-man's responsibilities, if you can imagine that. So Brusino committed to hands. Look at the hand activity, the difficulty of this pass. Abramovich is passing around this guy's arms and head, the level of offensive skill, incredible, to this player. Five-man is in next rotation responsibility. Corner completely delays this pass. And that one Mississippi, instead of a quick extra, allows five-man to get out there. And you say, their most important rules right now, they're five-way switching and nexting, because they're committed to keeping everybody off of the three-point line. So if success is determined by no catch and shoot threes, no easy, quick rhythm threes, because they're coming full speed down in transition. They want to get an early step up and provoke some help, kick out, get a catch and shoot three, because they're in hurry up offense. So if the rule is no three, we run him off of the line, another layer of help, and then you get the drop off and you say make or miss layup. But if the success criteria, using a term from Alan Keene, if success criteria is made or miss three, not allowing a three to get off, then they were successful. And there's an extremely intelligent, extremely hyperactive defense. Just the consummate example. Dustin, are we?
We're getting close. Against my better judgment, I'm jumping in for questions. I've really enjoyed this. So a couple of things here, Coach. Just from your observation of this, do you think that some of these things are increase of freedom of decision making of really smart players, or it's just a high level of structure in that league, or both?
I think these rules are put in place and repped out. It's pretty well known. The Spanish league practicing. They're doing 2 days. They're practicing. They're 5 on. When they come in the morning, they're 5-on-0 at full speed. Like they're repping out offense and defense with some intensity. These guys get after it. They practice, they work. So you couple that with being, the smartest players, the most physically capable players. They kind of feed off of each other. But of course, you have to empower some. I said it's highly anticipatory. There's a lot of, this is what we do in this situation. This is what we do in that situation. But which situation it is up to you to recognize and then communicate for the rest of the defensive pieces to fall. If that answers the question.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And then, Coach, what are your thoughts? With studying this, that this might not be a question that's easily answerable, but can you tell that the teams that have been together that have a nucleus, that is there like levels to it where some of these teams are they constantly moving pieces, or is there just a part of the structure is that they keep a core nucleus of players together so they can build and grow in this sense?
It's one of the great, elusive piece of, and dictates the level of a European club, as that most players in Europe are on 1-year deals, and everybody is playing for their next promotion. And if you're at a lower budget club and the guy plays well, he's on to the next job. And maintaining some semblance of continuity is extremely difficult and extremely elusive for the vast majority of teams. And I say that should be true, but remarkably, you take a team like Andorra that we played against, and they basically have an entirely new team. And I say that with a caveat because I think 2 or 3 of their shooters were with the team for 3-4 years, but they had a lot of new pieces, and were able to plug them in and figure it out. One of those guys had been playing in the league for several years, so there's a familiarity from that standpoint. And then they were incorporating a few new pieces, for younger players from different teams, import players. So no doubt continuity helps, but I just think that the league is filled with absolute master teachers, and they're seeing it across the league. It's like what my coach is trying to put in, I'm playing against, and I'm watching on film as we prepare for our opponents, day after day. So the better you get at playing against it, the better you get at doing it, in theory.
Thanks. And then what if, I saw quite a few things that made me think, and I took some notes, but what would maybe be for your individual coaching career, like the biggest takeaway for yourself and for your team that you took away from this study?
That some of the players on the floor are not the greatest athletes in the world. This really is you hate to get back to it, but you go to high school, you go to college, like the defensive desire element, taking away that optional mentality of that an uncontested shot should be like the bane of everyone's existence. So you see that commitment, I think, in so many of those clips. They're like, just one more contest, just one more stunt. The continuousness that you say, that's such a simple and obvious principle, but how many of us truly embrace it and commit to it? Tony Bennett has the best defense in college, historic in college history, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And that was one of the fundamental tenets. Like, if I'm no longer in position to guard the ball, I better go find somebody else to guard. So you see guys in these clips sprinting across the floor to get to the corner, and now you're in a long closeout. Well, yeah, it's less than ideal, but keep provoking one more decision, one more bounce. The clock is working in your favor. We saw some successful examples, but we also saw Real Madrid get one of the best teams in Europe. Some of the La Provitola is a Argentinian national team point guard. He played for the Spurs for one season, and his motor come to a halt. Like, when I got this guy stunting at him, this guy in rotation, it's not a clear picture. There's so many moving parts that I think levels below professional, you say this would be hard to teach. There's a defensive intelligence to it, but it's also like, can younger guards even play against this? They'd be, at a loss for where they should be looking, because the pieces are all in motion. A static picture is easy to read and pick apart, but I think a defense like this, just committing to continuousness and putting in some of those principles, like what are your emergency solutions? Like, say, don't get rejected on a wing pick and roll or any ball screen. But that corner peel switch, I'm
Yeah.
taking that.
It was really cool, Coach. You broke it down very eloquently, and the video alongside of it was awesome. I know I took a lot of notes. In the question and answer section, you had a bunch of people saying thank you, and they appreciated it, Coach. Man, again, just thank you for your time. I know it's a little bit later over there, but that was some great stuff. Really exciting for us to have this opportunity to be able to work and learn from different people, and this was definitely no exception. So hope you have a great rest of your evening, Coach, and thank you so much for jumping on here and giving us a piece of wisdom.
I really appreciate that, Dustin. You know, as promised, I didn't even get to the defensive video and the offense. The offensive video is about just as long, so we might have to circle back for part two. But I also do a kind of a better job of I want to kind of glue all the pieces of my Spanish league library together. That be that best shooting plays based on out of bounds, late clock actions, reads, and there's a ton of nuances I sorted out and I'd like to stitch together and make their own separate videos, and I'll try to share those out, whether that be on my Twitter or through the Basketball Embassy social media, so that anybody who tuned into my clinic can get access to those videos and those concepts. We unfortunately didn't touch on everything, but hopefully just watching through the videos you'll be able to steal some ideas.
And Coach, can you just give out your Twitter one more time? I know you did at the beginning, but just for those that might have jumped in late, do you mind showing that real quick?
Absolutely. My contact info is here. Please reach out to me. Email, Twitter, and phone. If you want to call, we need to use WhatsApp, but iMessage works just fine if you'd like to text. Talking basketball, obviously, I have no problem speaking to no end. I promise to go on many tangents, but love to talk basketball. Would love to help. Anyone have any questions, thought, ideas? Let's exchange. Let's talk. And I hope this was helpful. I hope this was interesting. I don't think there may have been a few people from Spain that I reached out to share that I was doing this talk. I don't think I did the league very much justice in making my thoughts coherent, and I obviously didn't touch everything I wanted to do defensively, and definitely I didn't even get to the offense. But best basketball in the world, in my opinion. So it's incredible.
Great stuff, Coach. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to. I know you'll be getting at least one Twitter follow to make sure that you're checking out those videos. So thank you so much, Coach, and again, have a good evening. We'll be catching up with you guys soon.
Thank you very much, Dustin. Be safe, guys.